Hello, hello, witches, and welcome to Moonstone Witchery, the podcast where we talk about spirituality in a modern context. My name is Rian Lockhart. I'm the head witch over here at Moonstone Witchery. You can find me on Instagram at moonstone_witchery. You can find me on my website, moonstonewitchery.com. There is a Facebook page that we are always working on maintaining, and it finally has synced with my Instagram account. That was a whole situation, so you can check us out there too. Today I thought I would talk about a few things. I think it's fun to kind of talk about and explore the idea of spiritual gifts and connectedness. Long before I was head witch here at Moonstone Witchery, I was a practicing psychic intuitive and a medium. I've been doing that work for my whole life, but for many, many years at this point, professionally, in terms of doing readings and things like that. I don't tend to work with cards, although I can work with cards, and if you've ever hopped on any of my Facebook Lives, I tend to pull cards for the people on Facebook Live, and then it's like a hybrid situation of a card pull and a mini reading for a second or two. But there's lots and lots of ways to have spiritual gifts, and the biggest thing that most of my clients, when I'm teaching intuitives to develop their gift, one of the biggest things that they really need, that they don't realize that they really need, is simply validation. How helpful is it to have someone hear what you're experiencing or convey what you're experiencing and to say, yeah, that's a real thing? I know for me, when I first started practicing and offering sessions, it was very validating to me to just have my clients give me feedback and, tell me how right on I was. So validation can be huge, and it's often something that we really do need, especially if we don't come from a family where spirituality or, all this like new age stuff or whatever people say or whatever people call it, especially if we're in an environment where that's not the norm. Having validation or finding our people who are like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about, that's a real thing. Well, that's really helpful and very important. So this podcast episode today is my attempt to validate you and to say to you all, yeah, this is a real thing. Let's talk about it. Let's chat about it. Let me sort of dialogue with you about what are the different ways that our spiritual gifts manifest for us, because it's a lot. And I find that sometimes people find out the way that I connect or that the way that I do things, and then they compare their process to my process and they decide that they must be doing something wrong. And I want to say, no, that's absolutely not true. There's no right or wrong way to connect. You're going to find that the way that you connect or receive information as your spiritual gift is going to be different than the way somebody else does. That doesn't make it wrong. In fact, that makes it more right in a way, because we are all designed to receive information differently and to put it out there differently. Some people think that's because we're supposed to each find our own audience that will be able to hear our message from us, and not everybody can hear a message from everybody else. So, but my thought is we each are gifted in our own unique way, and it's going to manifest itself however it manifests itself. So my thought was I would chat about different ways that spiritual gifts kind of show up, what they are, what they mean, what they do for you, and then we can kind of go from there, and you guys can hit me up with messages if you have any, with any questions. So let's get started. Okay, so your gifts can show up in a multitude of ways. Sometimes it shows up as thoughts that you have that you think are your own thoughts, but they're actually you receiving messages from maybe your guides or from just the energy around you. A lot of times you'll go, oh my God, it's so weird. I was just thinking about this the other day. And I want to say, well, what if that's not weird? What if that's the way it is? What if that's how you receive information, is synchronicities? So synchronicities are a big sign that you are connected. The word synchronicity just means it means coincidence, basically. It's wow, these things perfectly aligned. They synced up. It shouldn't have been that way. That's crazy. Can you believe it? That's a synchronicity. We've all experienced that when you start experiencing them more and more, I want you to pay attention and validate yourself. See, a lot of times we're all looking for validation that our gifts are real, that this really happened, and we seek validation external to ourselves, but we're never going to believe anything unless we believe it. So I'm going to say that again because, again, a lot of my job is just saying obvious things. We will never believe anything unless we believe it, which means like somebody can't convince you really of anything. No one can ever really convince anyone of anything else. You internally have to decide that you align with whatever you're about to be convinced about. So like you yourself are always interacting with yourself. You're always convincing yourself of something. And then you can go, all right, I hear you. I believe you. But so just like with like compliments, like if someone's like, oh my God, you're so beautiful, and you don't feel like that's even remotely possible, then you're not going to believe them. But if like you are low key feeling yourself that day and someone's like, wow, hey, then you're like, yeah, I know, right? So it's the same thing. So if you're willing to believe yourself that you are gifted or you're receiving something or something's happening, then you don't need that external validation. I mean, it's fun. It's fun to tell your friends like, oh my God, I had this like crazy dream about this person and then I saw them 2 days later. Like that's fun and validating, but I want you to validate yourself and believe yourself. And the more you can acknowledge that these things are happening, the easier it is for you to start to believe yourself and validate yourself. So I'm all for with my students who I'm teaching like how to develop their intuitive gifts. I call this psychic school. My students in psychic school, they are always being told to write down their synchronicities, write down the weird stuff that happens and begin to notice it. Because whatever you have repeating itself or being weird around you is the universe's way of communicating with you, and it's your way of noticing what's happening all around you at all times. Another way that giftedness manifests is, as I just said, through dreams. You can definitely have dreams that are prophetic or that are maybe symbolic. You have loved ones who have passed, love to visit in dreams. And now this gets asked to me a whole lot. So let's just chat about this really quick. If a loved one who has passed comes and visits you in a dream, allow that to be a real thing that has happened. Try not to second guess yourself. Try not to disempower yourself by not believing yourself. Try not to make yourself feel bad or like it's not real. A loved one coming to visit you in a dream is pretty much almost always a real thing. Now, a lot of times people get worried because they'll have a loved one that comes in a dream and maybe she's crying or maybe she's upset or maybe they can't get to the loved one, and they wonder or they become afraid that something bad is happening to the loved one on the other side. I want to say nothing bad is going to happen to anyone on the other side. That's not how that works. But that's you sorting out yourself and your feelings in regards to the person who has passed. So the person who has passed is visiting you. They're like, oh, I want to see you. If you have any type of feelings, feeling any type of way about it, if you're like not right with yourself, if you're not okay with like the circumstances of your relationship when they passed, or if you are feeling uncertain about how they would feel about you now or how they felt about you when they were with us or whatever it might be, you can project your own emotions upon them in the dream, and then it shifts the energy of the dream. Your loved one's just trying to say, I'm present, I'm with you. Pretty much always the message they want you to hear is, I'm okay, I'm present, and I'm with you. And then when we get them in our dream, our subconscious or our unconscious mind splatter paints them with all these other energies and feelings because we haven't processed our grief and because we're worried and because of all this other stuff. So if you have a loved one who visits and they're like seeming in distress, please understand that you're the one that is in distress surrounding the issue of that loved one. They're not going to ever come to try to like mess you up or like to harm you in any way. That said, that is only if they are not an earthbound energy or entity. And we will talk about earthbound spirits at a different time. Earthbound spirits, aka ghosts. We'll chat about that. Maybe I'll talk about that on the next podcast. But for the most of us, we can't receive visitations in our dreams from ghosts. So you're generally fine. If you're receiving a visitation in your dream, it's a loved one who has come to see you. And then if anything like weird is happening around that, that's your own stuff that I want you to work through and figure out like what's going on. A good way to interpret dreams, by the way, is to say to yourself, what is the general feeling that I'm having during this dream? Like, what is the energy about this dream? How does the dream feel? Because, yeah, things that happen in dreams are symbolic, but what no one's asking, what the dream books aren't asking, and what, like, Google's obviously not asking, like, Google's not, like, pulling out their notepad and putting on their glasses and being like, well, how did this make you feel? But what I want dream interpretations to take into consideration is the feeling of the dream. I mean, if I had a dream that I was, like, all alone in the middle of the ocean, that on paper might sound like, oh, you're feeling isolated. But if I was feeling like this was the greatest thing that ever happened in my dream, if I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in paradise and alone here in the middle of the ocean, so relaxed, that would be like, oh, okay, you're needing like alone time, you're like enjoying like yourself, you really like have done some great self-work, you're becoming more comfortable with yourself, you don't need anyone else. Right? Now, if I have this dream that I'm alone floating in the middle of the ocean and I feel terrible and scared and I'm crying and I can't reach the bottom and I'm freaking out, well, then obviously I'm feeling like I'm in over my head. I'm overwhelmed. Things aren't okay. I feel isolated. I don't feel like I have anyone. I feel like completely scared and trapped. Okay? See how the same situation has very different interpretations based on the emotions that are going on. So when you are interpreting any kind of dream, I want you to say like, well, how did I feel about it? Because even if the dream seems like it's some kind of messed up thing, like everything was on fire and oh my God, but I felt great, like that matters. I want you to consider that component as well. Your feeling about a thing is the critical part for dream interpretations, okay? And as with all things, this goes with the next point about spiritual gifts. Your guides, your spirit guides, or your guardian angels, or whatever words you like to use. Some people don't like the word angels. I'm down for angels. I love angels. But if you're not, that's cool. They can just be your guides or like your spiritual team. We're trying not to use the word tribe because it's an appropriative term. So I don't want y'all saying tribe, but you can say team, I don't know, people. I stick with guides or angels, animal guides, spirit guides, angels, etc. But whatever. So they are going to communicate with you in your own language. So when I was just talking about symbols and what things mean, I want you to understand that your guides, your guardian angels, the forces that be, the energies and entities around you that are communicating with you at all time, they are communicating with you in a language that you're going to understand. So like a butterfly might mean something specific to you and it might mean something very different to someone else. For me, when I see parakeets, I think about a certain aunt of mine who I loved when I was little, and she always had parakeets. So if I was to keep seeing parakeets on repeat, I would definitely be thinking about her. Whereas if you were to see parakeets on repeat, you wouldn't mean that to you. You wouldn't know that that was like a nudge from the universe to think about my aunt. You would think about whatever you associate with parakeets. Same things with butterflies, all things like flowers of a certain type. Do roses have a certain meaning? Yeah, they absolutely do. But in your own life, roses might mean something else, or a specific colored rose might mean a certain thing that's different than whatever Google's going to tell you that color means. Do you understand? So I want you to, whenever you start noticing a synchronicity or a sign or a communication from the universe, I want you to say to yourself, before you look it up, before you ever turn to any kind of book or website, I want you to say to yourself, what does this mean to me? And then interpret it that way, because that is so important. What does this mean to me? Because again, you're being communicated with in a way that you alone will understand, and that is very important. And so again, your energy and your emotions around whatever you're receiving is going to make a difference too. When you're reading cards, by the way, you can and should look at the image that is on the card and what it's saying to you and how it makes you feel, and utilize that as part of your interpretation for the card reading. The artwork on the cards is a part of the cards. A lot of people immediately go to the words and then turn to the book. But what I want to say is, the artwork is specific. Now, if you're looking at tarot cards and they are, the old-timey Rider-Waite deck, or there's that other one that's old-timey as well. There's a lot of symbology in the artwork. So much. I mean, people can and have done full analyses on each individual card and all the symbology present, because quite honestly, the intention was you can interpret this card by looking at the image. Okay? And so that's why there's so much symbology in the artwork. When it was created, not everybody could read. Most people couldn't read. And they wanted you to be able to do divination with just looking at it. A lot of divination is about like trusting your eyes and trusting what you see and trusting what you receive in that capacity. And so the symbology is there for you to see. Now, what's interesting is what jumps out at you dependent upon the reading that you're giving or dependent upon the person that you're reading, because certain things will jump out at you and other things will not. And so the things that do jump out at you are going to be pertinent for that reading, whereas if something is more in the background, it's not for that person. So for example, if I'm pulling a card and I get the High Priestess and she has these two pillars, one black and one white, and that really jumps out at me that day, I'm going to say to the person, like, are you being really black and white in your approach to your life right now? You know what I'm saying? Whereas I might not even notice any of the other symbology that's in that card at that moment, because that's not what's jumping forward for that person. That said, I want you to know that giftedness can come from interpreting things, just as I discussed. So some of us are really equipped to see patterns that other people don't see, whether they're spiritual patterns, emotional patterns, behavior patterns, just any kind of patterns. If you're seeing patterns, you might say to yourself, oh, that's interesting. That's a pattern that's repeating. But you might not realize that you're noticing that as a form of divination or as a form of a spiritual gift for you. And you can say to yourself, okay, I'm seeing this pattern. What does this mean to me? The most common question I get asked is like, I see these numbers on repeat. I see repeating number patterns. What do they mean? A lot of times it's really simple. It's just your guides wanting to get your attention. A lot of times if you're seeing certain numbers on repeat, they are literally just saying, hey, hello, are you paying attention to us? We're trying to send you lots of communication. And you can kind of validate that for your guides by saying, oh, message received. I know you're here. What do you want to tell me? Okay. Obviously, if it's certain numbers that are repeating, like 333 or whatever, 1111, we all culturally have associations with certain numbers. Like 1111 is going to be like make a wish or good luck. If you see your birthday a lot, that's your guides kind of just saying, I'm with you. I'm here. I'm sending you love. Or sometimes that's a loved one who is crossed, sending you a lot of love as well. But what you want to always say to yourself is, what does this number mean to me? And if it doesn't have an inherent meaning to you, you can say, well, what's usually going on within me or within my circumstances or how I'm feeling or whatever's happening in life when I see this pattern of repeated numbers? Like, what's happening around me when I'm noticing this? Because what they're trying to do is anchor you into this means this and this means that. So you just start to notice. I always want people to journal or to keep notes on their life, and no one really is like ever taking me up on this like advice that I have. So I'm just gonna like spit this advice out into the ether, and maybe some of you will be Gold Star students and it will land. I would love for people to carry a journal around with them and to notice things and to write down what they're noticing, especially if you're working on developing your spiritual gift. Treasure hunt for the times that you're right. Treasure hunt for the times that you're feeling connected. Treasure hunt for the things that you notice. Treasure hunt for the analyses that you've made that like turn out to be right. Play a game with yourself and like read someone's energy field and write it down and then watch it unfold in front of you and see how you did. There's no right or wrong. We have such a fear in our culture or in our lives or within ourselves of being wrong sometimes. And you can't get more right unless you're willing to be wrong. You can't work on developing a gift unless you are acknowledging it needs to be developed. And the way we develop anything is through actually diving in and actually working with it. So I would encourage you to figure out like, well, how do my gifts manifest? Do I hear thoughts that are not mine? Like, do I receive information in my mind and think it's my thoughts, but really it's my guides like telling me things? Do I feel the energy of people around me? Do I notice a bunch of synchronicities? Do I receive information through my dreams? Do I have the ability to read patterns in things? Do I have the ability to read and interpret images? So you might be skilled with divination. You could use, I never use a Ouija board. I am anti-Ouija board. Pendulums tend to tell you what you want to hear. But for divination, tarot cards or oracle decks are great. I love candle and fire divination. I love smoke divination. So I will light some incense and ask the candle a question, and then I will look for the shapes in the incense, and you can take pictures of the smoke too. Ask the energies and entities that you're working with that, if they mind if you take photos, or tell them what you're doing and say, I'm going to take photos, so I'd like you to show me my answers in the smoke. And you can do that, and they will participate in that. They kind of love that. But it's important always to be respectful when you're working with divinity or any energies or entities, because you're in a collaboration at that point with a strong power. So I want you to be respectful. But I love doing divination in smoke. I love doing divination with fire. I love to scry. You might like it too. That's kind of getting a soft eye and looking into the water or through a crystal or something of that nature. Try not to do any mirror divination until you're more advanced in your witch work. But there's a lot of ways, is what I'm telling you, to be spiritually connected and to develop your gifts. It's just simply the matter of deciding that you trust yourself enough that you're going to be able to receive information. And that's like 90% of the battle. 90% of the battle is you validating for yourself that, yeah, I do know things. So if you've ever had a feeling about someone and it's come to fruition, yes, you know things. Stamp of approval, I validate you. If you have ever been able to just feel so much about a person or know so much about a person without ever really having them talked to you or without ever really having them told you a lot, yes, that's a real gift. I validate you, stamp of approval. That's a real gift. That's how it shows up. That's what being a psychic intuitive feels like. It's like you see a person, you just know so much about them. If you're ever sitting in a room and you can hear someone else's thoughts, that's a real thing. I want to validate you. If you daydream and go to a different place and then it's whoa, deja vu, I was just thinking about this the other day. Yes, that's a way of a spiritual gift manifesting itself for you. I want to validate you. Your dreams being prophetic, that's a real thing, validated. I want you to spend time, all of you, validating yourselves and searching for ways that you are this amazing, connected, badass queen. I want you to search for ways that you are really powerful, that you are this manifester of your own reality, that you speak and so it shall become. I want you to search for ways that you are doing everything that you wish you could do, because you're already doing a lot of it. You're already gifted. The fact that you want to be gifted in this way is your gift speaking through you, and it's saying, let me out, let me free. I'm here. Let's do this. You can't want something that you're incapable of having. So I want to empower you to know that. If you were oh, I wish I could do that, you can. Anything you wish you could do, right? Especially when it's something like this, when it's something spiritual or emotional or something of yourself within yourself. Obviously, we live in a society that is stifling and difficult and capitalism and all that stuff. So it's not oh, I just want to be this famous millionaire. I can. I mean, I guess theoretically, maybe. I don't know. I don't want to comment on that. This is not the place for that. But what I'm saying is, I'm not talking about external trappings like that are gonna get messed up by the patriarchy. I'm talking about, what do you want within yourself? What kind of person do you want to be? What kind of gifts do you want to have? Because you secretly have them already if you want them. And we can chat about that more on a different day. So hopefully this has been empowering, and hopefully this has been helpful for you. Hopefully this has left you with a sense of okay, I got this. I am right. I do have these gifts and I can work with them. The biggest step for you is to just search for ways that you are doing the thing that you want and to believe yourself. So practice with that and see how it goes, and hit me up in my messages. I did have someone hit me up with a cool idea for a podcast on working with dark energy, so I'm going to record that maybe for next week, and we'll chat about ghosts and that as well, because that would be a fun topic. So stay tuned, stick around. I wanted to let you know that I have lots of fun, cool things over on my website. Me and my partner have made a witchy subscription box where we send you 7 cool magical items every month. If you've seen my Facebook ad, it says it's $15, but it is $35. That is because it is using the content from the Crystal of the Month Facebook ad. So anyway, bear with me as I work out glitches, but y'all understand what I'm trying to do over here. So find me on my website, moonstonewitchery.com, but always find me on Instagram at moonstone_witchery. I love talking to y'all, and thank you so much for listening. If you have liked this podcast, please share it with all your witchy friends. Let's create this cool worldwide coven here, virtually, and then perhaps in person sometime. All right, talk to you later, y'all. Thanks again.
I'm going in search of witches.
Witches.
Witches. I guess you found me out, huh? Yeah. You should come around here on Halloween. You'd really see something then.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we all jump off the roof and fly.
You know, sort of like a coven. You have placed Fester under some strange sexual spell.
At what time will we be spellcasting?
Hey everyone, I just wanted to take a second to tell you all about this cool thing that we're offering over on my website, moonstonewitchery.com. We are offering a new subscription service. It is called Crystal of the Month, and its name is pretty straightforward, pretty much exactly what you could expect. With Crystal of the Month, I've tried to keep it incredibly affordable. It's only $15 a month. That includes shipping, and you will get a new crystal delivered right to your door every single month so that you can build your collection. These crystals are the perfect size for your altar, or to be carried in your pocket or your bra or in your car or under your pillow. They're really a manageable size, but I have hand chosen each one. And I actually speak to my guides and channel in which crystals should be used each month for the Crystal of the Month. So if you're not already subscribed, it's real easy. Go over to moonstonewitchery.com. You can find the link under subscriptions, and you can just set it up through PayPal. It'll monthly subscribe you, and that's that. And then every single month, it's like, surprise, you get a little delivery from the Crystal Fairy. So I hope to see you guys over there at moonstonewitchery.com, subscribing for Crystal of the Month, and thank you for listening.